and virtually gavel in. I don't have a gavel, so we'll just have to virtually gavel in. First thing on the agenda is requests for bill introductions. Are there any? Seeing none, we shall move on. Yesterday we had a hearing on the State Institutions for Intellectual Disabilities, and today we'll continue that hearing. We'll make the budget recommendations for Parsons and KNI. Is there discussion and or motions on the budget? Representative Ballard?
Thank you. I'll just make the motion that we accept the governor's recommendations for 24-25 for NEI Neurological Institute and Parsons.
Okay, you've heard the motion from Representative Ballard to accept the budgets for fiscal years 24-25 as submitted by the governor. Is there a second? Representative Hobson seconds. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, make a comment?
You may.
I didn't want to do it. Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize if you can't hear me. Servicing our constituents here in Kansas. And part of that is not only providing those services, but providing meaningful opportunities, whether it's through the balloons, through the dog bones, through plants, and selling things that they can earn their own money and feel good about what they're doing. So it's not only the services, but those opportunities that I think put the quality of life there. And I would just like to commend them.
Well stated. All right. Thank you, committee. We'll move on. We'll consider that budget approved, and then we'll move on to our hearing for the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs. And to do that, we'll hear from Molly Pratt, Legislative Research Analyst. Molly?
Good afternoon, Chairman Mason and members of the committee. My name is Molly Pratt. I'm a fiscal analyst with the Legislative Research Department, and I'll be presenting the budget for the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office. The Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office provides veterans and veterans' families in Kansas with advice and assistance in obtaining veterans' benefits and services that are intended to improve the quality of their lives. Aside from assisting veterans in obtaining benefits, the KCVAO operates 2 veterans' homes that provide long-term and domiciliary care to veterans and, on occasion, families of veterans. The Kansas Veterans Home located in Winfield and the Kansas Soldiers Home located on Fort Dodge near Dodge City. The 2023 legislature appropriated from the State Institutions Building Fund $17.2 million for the construction of a 3rd veterans home to be located in Northeast Kansas. Several of the programs the agency administers, including the Veterans Homes programs, existed in various forms for decades prior to the statutory creation of KCVAO in 1986 and the subsequent reorganization of the agency in 2014. On page 4, you'll notice a table detailing the agency's financing by category of expenditures, as well as an overview of expenditures from the State General Fund. SGF expenditures averaged $6.9 million from FY 2016 through fiscal year 2023. The increase in SGF expenditures from fiscal year 2022 into the current fiscal year is due to a variety of supplemental and enhancement requests by the agency. The FY 2024 and fiscal year 2025 analysis sections will provide more information on those requests, but a detailed description of those requests can also be found on pages 14 through 16. On the next page, you'll see a chart detailing the Federal Long-Term Care Per Diem Fund. That includes the Veterans Home Federal Fund Long-Term Care Account and the Soldiers Home Federal Fund Long-Term Care Account. Per diem payments are paid to the KVH and the KSH on a monthly basis. The KCVAO anticipates a slight increase in the census for long-term care, which would lead to increased expenditures and higher revenue projections in both fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025. The next 2.5 pages analyze both the Veterans Home Fee Fund and the Soldiers Home Fee Fund. However, unless the committee has questions, I'll only speak about the Veterans Home Fee Fund because both funds are substantially similar. Revenue is earned in like manners, and expenditures from the funds go toward providing for similar services at both homes. Likewise, both accounts experience an uneven flow of cash, which can be seen on the below bar graphs. This is due to the agency not knowing when it will be reimbursed for the services it provides. The Veterans Home Fee Fund is the main source of funds for the KVH, which is located in Winfield. Expenditures from this fund go toward providing long-term care and domiciliary care to assist veterans. The agency notes that the nursing staff shortage throughout the state has caused the Veterans Home to hire nurses on a temporary basis through temporary staffing agencies, which is more costly than hiring directly. In addition, the agency anticipates that admissions to the Veterans Home will continue to increase over the next couple of years, which will require more resources. On the next page, there is a more detailed bar graph analyzing the expenditures and revenues from the Veterans Home Fee Fund. Revenue comes in the form of monthly reimbursements from resident fees, interest, rent of unimproved lands, oil royalties, and other miscellaneous sources. Although the agency is reimbursed for certain costs, it notes that the difficulty of predicting when a reimbursement will be received can cause an uneven flow of receipts. In fiscal year 2021, the agency raised the monthly room rate by 5% due to an increase in the overall cost of care. However, no veteran or eligible dependent is denied admission because of their financial status. And if the committee would turn to page 8, you will find the analysis for fiscal year 2024. Subsequent to the 2023 session, one adjustment was made to the $52.6 million in on-budget expenditures appropriated to KCVAO. The agency reappropriated $1 million in unspent SGF monies from fiscal year 2023 into fiscal year 2024 due to vacant positions as well as delays in rehabilitation projects at Fort Dodge due to the lack of contractors in that area. The reappropriated amount gives the agency an approved budget of $52.6 million, including $15 million from the State General Fund in fiscal year 2024. The agency requests a revised estimate of $54.6 million, including $15.5 million SGF and $21 million SIBF in fiscal year 2024. This is an all-funds increase of $2 million, or 3.8% above the amount approved by the 2023 legislature. The revised estimate includes a supplemental request of $151,536 SGF to transition to Office 365 services, including email for the KVH and the Soldiers Home that are managed by OITS. The services provided by OITS would allow the entire agency to be on the same domain, including the same email servers, and would allow the agency to comply with the federal requirement that servers have off-site storage capacity. Also included within the estimate is a request of $150,000 SGF in supplemental funding for the Veterans Claims Assistance Program due to the agency's need for more service representatives due to the greater volume of veteran engagements stemming from the expansion of the Federal PACT Act this past year. And details of the Veterans Claims Assistance Program can be found on page 21 in the program analysis section. The estimate also includes $107,945 SGF for the Veterans Home to purchase one new transit van equipped with a wheelchair lift to transport handicapped veterans to medical appointments in Wichita and the surrounding areas. The current minibus is 20 years old and has over 112,000 miles on it and does not have a wheelchair lift for the handicapped veterans. Also included within the revised estimate is $100,783 SGF in fiscal year 2024 to account for a shortfall in appropriations for the legislative pay plan and 2023 Senate Bill 25. Absent the supplemental request, the revised estimate includes an all-funds increase of $1.5 million in base budget expenditures. The agency reappropriated $1.7 million in unspent SIBF monies from fiscal year 2023 into fiscal year 2024. According to the agency, the reappropriation is associated with delays in construction and rehabilitation projects at the KVH and the KSH due to lack of contractors in those areas. Also included in the revised estimate is a decrease of 239,160 SDF and other adjustments related to contractual services, such as utilities provided at both veterans' homes. The agency's revised estimate also includes 376 FTE positions in fiscal year 2024, which is the same number of positions approved by the 2023 legislature. The governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate of $54.6 million, including $15.5 million SGF and 376 FTE positions in fiscal year 2024. Chairman Mason, do you or any of the other members of the committee have questions, or would you like me to continue?
Let's find out. Are there questions at this point for fiscal year 24? I'm seeing none, so please proceed.
Okay. On page 11, you'll find a bar graph relating the actual expenditures from fiscal year 2023 to the revised estimate in fiscal year 2024. You'll see that there is an all-funds increase of $23.5 million, or 75.8%, and an SGF increase of $4.6 million, or 42.8%, above the actual expenditures in fiscal year 2023. The uptick in expenditures from fiscal year 2023 into the current fiscal year is primarily due to the 2023 legislature's appropriation of $17.2 million SIBF for the construction of the new home. The increase is also due to the agency's supplemental request, increases in pay of regular and temporary unclassified employees, and differential pay of unclassified employees, as well as employer contributions. On the next page, you'll find the analysis for fiscal year 2025. The agency requests $37 million, including $14.8 million SGF and $3 million SIBF for fiscal year 2025. This is an all-funds decrease of $17.6 million, or 32.3%, below the fiscal year 2024 revised estimate. Included within this is an SGF decrease of $631,397, or 4.1%, and an SIBF decrease of $18 million, or 85.8%, below the fiscal year 2024 revised estimate. The reduction of funds is primarily due to the agency not requesting a continuation in funding for the construction of the new home. The first two enhancement requests on this page are the same for fiscal year 2025 as in fiscal year 2024, IT support for both homes, and additional funding for the Veterans Claims Assistance Program due to the expansion of the PACT Act. For the third request, the agency is requesting $461,000 SGF to fund 4 leadership positions within the agency. 2 positions, a procurement officer and a director of the Kansas Veterans Home, would be stationed at the KCVO Central Office in Topeka. The other 2 positions, an operations officer of the Kansas Soldiers Home and an operations officer of the Kansas Veterans Home, would be stationed at their respective homes. And to clarify that the agency is not requesting an increase in the FTE account, only funding for these 4 positions. More information on these positions can be found on pages 15 and 16. I will note that should the 3rd Veterans Home be built, the agency believes that they will not have enough personnel to adequately manage all 3 homes. And finally, the agency is not requesting SIBF monies for the new home for fiscal year 2025, as this was a one-time expenditure of fiscal year 2024. Though the funds might be reappropriated into fiscal year 2025, depending on whether the Federal Veterans Affairs Office authorizes the construction of the new home and appropriates their share of the funds. The governor's recommendation for fiscal year 2025 includes $37.4 million, including $14.7 million SGF for fiscal year 25. This is an all-funds increase of $428,250, or 1.2%, as well as an SIBF increase of $600,000, or 20.1%, above the agency's request. Included within this is an SGF decrease of $171,750, or 1.2%, below the agency's request. The governor partially recommends the agency's enhancement request for leadership positions for fiscal year 2025. Specifically, the governor recommends that the agency fund the positions of procurement officer and director of Kansas Veterans Home. The governor also recommends $36,250 SGF for direct care workers at the Veterans Home and the Soldiers Home to use as an allowance to buy shoes for fiscal year 2025. And the governor also recommends $600,000 SIBF for the demolition of the junior officers' quarters and Watt Hall at the Soldiers' Home on Fort Dodge for fiscal year 2025. Finally included within the governor's recommendation is an FTE count of 376 positions, which is the same as the agency's requested number of positions. More information on the governor's recommendations and the agency's request for supplemental and enhancement request can be found on the next 3 pages. The section after that details the process the agency and the legislature have gone through to fund and build the new veterans home. And the remainder of the analysis focuses on the various programs the agency maintains to serve veterans. And with that, Chairman Mason, I'm happy to stand for questions.
Committee, questions for Molly? Representative Barth.
Thank you, Chairman Mason, and thank you for that. I'm just looking here at this governor's recommendation number 7, the Fort Dodge structures. I'm looking, you said there was further explanation, but I didn't see anything other than it repeats exactly what it says. So why are we demolishing these officer quarters?
I should have clarified there's more detail on the agency's request. That is all the information I have on the governor's recommendation. The agency might be able to answer or provide more details, and if not, I'd be happy to look into it after the meeting.
If someone's here that can answer it, that'd be great. Thank you.
Committee, other questions? Representative Carpenter.
And William may be able to answer this. So VCAP, it's a $150,000 increase, but that's not the total amount. Wasn't that a $600,000? I'll just wait till you get up here. Thank you.
And Representative, I can also look into that, but you are correct that it is an increase of $150,000 on top of the amount they were already appropriated for that.
And just follow up, where would be the original $600,000 in the budget?
It would probably be in the appropriations bill from last year. I don't think I have details on that in here at the moment as to exact, well, actually, Veterans Service Program. On page 24, it looks like for the entire Veteran Service Program, which includes the Veterans Claims Assistance Program, in fiscal year 2023, the actual expenditures were approximately $2.8 million.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Committee, other questions? I have one, and it may be best for the agency too. So that new home, and it's now been decided Topeka. So there's like a 65-35% split.
Yes.
Is there some doubt that the feds will come through at this point?
To my knowledge, as of this summer, they were placed in priority group 8, meaning that it was not a priority for the agency. Based on discussions the executive director has had in other committees that I've watched, it does seem that since they now have the cash in their account, the federal VA will be more likely to agree that the home should be built and appropriate the money for it.
Okay, very good. Committee, other questions? Okay, thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Next, we'll call William Turner. Welcome, sir.
Oops. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today, to appear today. I guess I'd like to start by addressing some of the questions that I've already heard here, if that helps to help clarify a couple of the items. So, sir, if I may, I'll start with the new veterans home. Right now, we've received $17.2 million in SIBF funds that are separate account line within our budget there. And of that, approximately, we're probably approaching about $300,000 that we've expended with our architect and engineer company that is continuing to work with us to provide our design development. Right now, we're at a point where we just did a transition from our We received the final schematic design, if you will, which is remarkably very detailed. And then we are moving into design development now here in the next couple of weeks. So it's been a very thorough process that we've continued to march with that. Regarding the priority group that Molly referred to, yes, we were on priority group 8 last year. And we've received reasonable assuredness talking to the state construction grants program at the federal VA that we'd be on priority group 1 next time for the reasons stated regarding kind of the money that we have in hand now, that it's not reliant on bonds, and that also that the continued progress that we make with our design structure. We've already met all the requirements and criteria for a small home build with 72 beds. We have the facility. We've done all the surveys out there at the property adjacent to the Colmery O'Neill Center. So we're on track. And what that means, though, ultimately is the VA is committed then to providing those federal funds, that 65% that you have alluded to there. And then the question is when do the federal funds become available? And we're working with our federal delegation, with the members of the federal VA up there to try to continue to influence that and to fight for those dollars, sir. If you have any other questions regarding that piece, sir, or no? So regarding the VCAP piece, right now we have, we started out originally with $700,000 in the VCAP grant program. When I came in with the agency here, it's been that way, I think, for several years. Last year, thank you to this committee and other folks here across the legislature in approving $150K additionally, raised the amount to $850K in that program to help aid with some nominal salary increases for those folks from the VFW and the Legion that support us out at the 3 VA medical centers. And then it also provided the ability to maybe begin to hire some extra people. And I can kind of speak to that and put in some context regarding our claims. And this additional 150 is, again, is kind of the next step in that to help fund these folks. Or right now, each veteran support organization, veteran service organization has approximately, I think we're at they're at 7 or 8 veteran service reps or officers, they call them, at those facilities, and they do tremendous work for us at those medical centers where the majority of our veterans frequent, and so they provide a great service for us there.
And on that, so you contract with various veterans organizations to provide that service?
Yes, sir. So this is this VCAP grant program. We have a kind of a contract, and by under state statute, it kind of governs how we operate that. But this is directly with the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion. They're the 2 primary organizations that work there with us in that regard.
And they have that contract this year to provide that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
That's what I was trying. I just didn't find a line item that actually, ties in that. It must be just in budgeting operation or something.
It is, sir.
All it shows
the Veteran Services Program that we operate.
Okay, so it's in there somewhere.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Representative Carpenter, is that line item 2 on the budget request for 25, or is that something completely different?
I think that's the increase.
Okay.
But
So what we did last year stayed in there, and then this is
Right.
an additional increase, yeah.
I was
So
just looking for a
that's the way I read it, yeah.
line item that said that. And it's somewhere in, I'm not sure where.
That's kind of the way I read it as well.
May I?
Representative Ballard.
This one, I think, especially when you mentioned foreign wars and American Legion. Remember, I think we had a spokesperson come in here for American Legion, and we appropriated the $150,000. The foreign wars people did not come, but then when it went to the Senate
We actually
appropriations,
we actually made that motion.
we made that motion there. That's probably why you don't see it, because they felt that they'd been neglected, but yet they didn't come, but we provided that 152.
Yeah, I believe that was the appropriations chair that made that amendment, and it was adopted.
So I don't know if that's why it's not here, but that's how they ended up with both having 150,000.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, so if I may, please, just to correct one thing, ma'am, is that it was a representative from the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So it was flip-flopped
other
as
way
one piece. So,
around.
yes, ma'am. So it was veterans, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Those gentlemen came in, and the total amount last year was $150K. I believe there have been other amounts that were considered, but the final amount that was appropriated to our agency was $150K for the grant program to KCVAO, and from there, we distributed funds between the two organizations.
Thank you for that correction. I knew one of them was in here, the other was not, but we wanted to make it even. All right, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, William. I think we've kind of distracted you. You probably had a presentation for us, so please proceed.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make sure I answered your other questions. And Representative Barth, if you may, please, could you repeat your question, ma'am? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, Brigadier General Turner, thank you so much for your service as well and representing the budget here for us today as well. My question was about the recommendation from the governor for $600,000 for the demolition of the junior office quarters and Walt Hall capital improvement project. And it doesn't have any explanation about the reasons or why or anything for this to happen.
Yes, ma'am. So the starting with the junior officers quarters, the junior officers quarters is a historic building that is located there adjacent to the Custer House, which was previously been the superintendent's home there on Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge, the entire campus probably embodies about 90 buildings. This particular building is in a state of tremendous disrepair. It's really a hazard for anybody to, we've actually have it fenced off now from the outside to try to, deter anybody from wanting to go up next to the building. But there are questions about the structure. We are having a structure analysis done of it right now, actually. But then the inside is it's a terrible state of repair since I've been here. I think for many years it's been in that case. So I know. So it kind of becomes a liability to us, and that means it would take a number of dollars to revitalize that building, and it doesn't serve an express purpose for us. And then likewise for Walt Hall, it was the old hospital for Fort Dodge years ago for the soldiers' home there. And it's a little bit later. It was probably built in the 30s or 40s, 1930s or 40s. And again, it's in tremendous disrepair, and it's also a risk for those that go around, and we have experienced some vandalism there and things of that nature. So to keep people out and for the safety of everybody concerned, that was a decision there that we're looking at. May I continue,
So as
Mr.
you're
Chair?
ready, just proceed.
Well, I just to touch on a few things for the committee. I know that Molly already touched kind of on our three main focus areas here with the veterans' homes, the two veterans' homes, the 4 state cemeteries, and the veterans services is just kind of the foundation of all that we do. First of all, if I may touch on the veterans' homes, I'm just going to kind of caveat or piggyback on some of the things that you may have already heard from KDADS yesterday regarding the critical care challenges that we have and the staffing at the homes. We have received a tremendous boost based on the support that you provided with the increase in salaries and wages out there at these locations. Our vacancy rates for our critical care providers is probably down in the neighborhood of 10 to 15%. At one time, we were as high as 45% in those areas. We're probably closer down to about 30% vacancy rate right now in those specific areas. Likewise, kind of corresponding to that is our hours that are attributed to contract staffing. We're seeing that number starting to come down, not dramatically, but we are seeing, a turn there. So you are seeing kind of lines go up as we were able to create more organic staff hours for our own staffing at these homes. We are seeing a slight drop in the contract hours. Not necessarily automatically correlate to reduced fundings all the time, because it all depends, of course, on what level of provider that you are trying to seek there to fill those positions. But we are having a great deal of success there with those programs. Cemeteries, we continue to perform a large number of interments. I think I just kind of speak back to the year before I arrived, probably in the year that I'd been here, we were probably averaging around 350 to 375 interments at the cemeteries for the year, for all 4. In the last 2 years now, we're on pace to perform about 450 interments. and a lot of that's probably largely attributed to the COVID environment and other folks being able to come out and to perform these functions. Within Veteran Services, you can see we have some numbers there that talk to that, but we've had great success in being able to hire more veteran service reps. So we had several vacant positions that we received funding for that has helped dramatically there. We've been able to kind of revitalize our mobile services to go out and to address concerns where we have a larger queue of folks that may need services, as well as being able to proactively go out into communities around the state and engage with veterans at locations where they are and to help raise their awareness, to kind of market our wares, if you will. We did complete in fiscal year 23 approximately 4,000 more claims than we had in the previous year. And a lot of that is largely attributed to the PACT Act that went into effect in August of 22. So that was related to the toxic exposure, the toxins for veterans, primarily in the post 9/11 timeframe, but it also went back to Vietnam and Agent Orange and other things that they were exposed to as well. So, I mean, in a period from roughly August of 22 to December of 23, we're talking probably a 16, 17-month period there, we've had approximately 26,000 claims across our state that have gone in, and of that, a little over 11,000 of them are PACT Act related. So you go back to that's kind of the compelling reason for the increases in our ability to hire more veteran service reps to perform those responsibilities, as well as leveraging more the VFW and the American Legion out at the homes where they perform those services. And the last piece I wanted to address, because I was hearing other testimony previously, was the FTE issue. Sir, I know you had made some queries about that before. I know it's a concern across the state here, is that, and I just wanted to help to define that a little bit, was our total FTE is approximately 376 individuals. And of that FTE, we have 58 vacant positions right now, but we are not funded to the full 376. So kind of in good faith, what we have done is we look at, and a large portion of that FTE is out at the homes. I believe we have like 102 at one of the homes and 156 at the other homes. So you can say there's 258 of your 376 are in the homes. And what we have done is we've kind of looked at a pocket of our census there at each of the homes. So we have our census has gone up about 15% in the last 18 months, and it steadily seems to increase right now in the ones and twos. And then what happens is what we've done is we've looked at our staff, and I think we started out, like, for example, at the Kansas Soldiers Home out at Dodge. It was about 96, 97 filled, and we said that's about what we need. And then we're going up to 102, and then we're trying to get up to 111. And we believe we have the ability to hire folks now and retain them based on the salary and wage increases. But that's 111 out of the 117 that's there in the total FTE. And so while we're only funded right now to like 107 FTE at the Kansas Soldiers Home, you would see, if you looked at the documents for it, we have 117 FTE there. So that's where that is. And so as some of those positions are vacant and as we're still trying to fill them, yes, we do experience some shrinkage there, but it's a relatively small number there right now. And our staffing the increases have been helping a lot there. So that's all going very well for us. So I guess pending your questions, sir, I'll pause there. And if you have any questions.
Let's see if there are any. Questions, committee? Representative Ballard.
Thank you, and I was reading at the same time you were speaking, so I might have missed it, and I apologize. What about the field workers? Are those that are out helping them with information and what their benefits are and all? Do we still have 11, or do we have more?
Ma'am, we're at 15 locations right now across the state. And there's approximately 19 or 20 veteran service representatives that occupy positions. In some cases, we have 2, like in Manhattan. Right now, we're very blessed that we are 32 of 34 positions are filled right now. And while you're on that topic, if I may, so I do like that. In my time here, since I've been learning this, I just wanted to be able to show folks a little bit about what these folks do. So this is the Veterans Benefits Manual. And so this is the Bible This is the
That's why I asked the
Bible
question.
for these veteran service reps that are out there doing these jobs. And this kind of helps cover, any number of diagnoses of possible conditions they might face and possible situations. So it goes into a great deal. So do they know all this? I'd argue probably not. And I know very little of it, quite frankly. But they know a great deal of it. They become well versed. There's probably several that are repetitive in nature that they see all the time. But what they are schooled in is how to use this manual and to reference it and to use it. And that's one part of it, because then you also have, there are certain medical diagnoses that they are forced to look up and to try to help tell a narrative for the veteran out there. And then this is the other document that's the federal veteran. This is the laws and regulations that go along with this that help govern it. So again, this is even smaller print. And again, these are all the items that these folks are kind of operating under and do that. Now, we do have I call it the Reader's Digest version. And this is the what every veteran needs to know for dummies like me. And this has a great index here. And so they can quickly go to this and reference, but then they can get the more detailed data to make sure they're doing it properly. Eric has been with our organization now for over 15 years. He's been operating the capacity as a Deputy Director for Veteran Services for 6-7 years now. And he has tremendous knowledge and experience in all this, and he leads that team doing it. But I just wanted to kind of give you that visual to show you the expectation. So every time, we've been experiencing probably 30 to 40% turnover out there. And so every time you're bringing a new veteran service rep and you're trying to train them and get them acclimated, it probably takes a solid 18 months to 2 years for an individual to be comfortable with this. Now, we have different chat groups and meetings set up, and we try to facilitate crosstalk to help one another out, and they do a great job with that. But there's just a lot of detail there and a lot of things that we try to do our best to represent them.
Thank you. And I did that because I was aware of those, only because several people that I know in different areas have indicated they didn't really know, even though they were discharged from the Army, what they qualified for, where they could go if they needed assistance. And they said, we have an excellent rep, and they have this, and they have this big book like that, and that's, now I see it. But I think that is marvelous, because for them who served and they're no longer serving, they have no other way to get their information except for those people that you provide out there for them. And that was part of their benefits, to know what it is they qualify after they're no longer serving. So thank you very much.
Committee, Representative Carpenter.
One final thing. So how many folks do you have in, and what's your vacancy at Fort Dodge and at Winfield?
Yes, sir.
I knew you'd bring that for me.
Yes, sir. Right now, our vacancy at, we have 156 filled right now at the Veterans Home down in Winfield. That's 156 of the 196 of their FTE. And then we have, right now, 102 of the 117 at the Soldiers Home. What we're trying to do to get to this year is 176 in at the Veterans Home. So that's still 20 short of the FTE, but we've set that as our goal, and that's what we're looking at for our funding for that piece, and we're moving in that direction.
And how many beds do you have open?
Oh, beds.
Yeah, beds.
Yes, sir.
Bed-wise, sorry.
Well, actually, so in the last few months, for the first time, we have had some waiting lists right now at the Veterans Home. So we've had, at one time, I think it got up as many as 3 or 4 that were on the wait list. We have none now, but they're probably about 96% filled right now, and we're over just about 91% at Fort Dodge. That's long-term care. The cottages out at Dodge were probably right around 55-60% filled, about 25 out of the 50 cottages.
Wow, what a turnaround from the COVID,
Yes, sir.
you were down big time during COVID. And
We're proud that those teams have done a great job of kind of earning back that confidence of people, and to bring them out there, to bring folks through. We have a constant stream of visitors that are looking at applications and seeking to come out there to be a part of it. So.
Well, many of you have been on the committee. My father was at Winfield for 4 or 5 years and passed away there. So, and I was down there visiting, and it was always very nice, well kept. One time I was down there when they were doing the inspections. Kate Edge was doing the inspections. So anyway, very good. Thank you for that.
Sir, if I may too, that the facility at Winfield now, for 7 of the last 8 quarters, it has achieved a 5-star rating. So our Superintendent Peel at the Winfield home there has done just remarkable work with his team there that, like you're saying, very clean, very disciplined in their procedures, and they do a great job of the quality care they provide. Yes, sir.
Only because they may, thank you, Mr. Chair, asking appropriations. You said you no longer have a waiting list, and at one point it was one or
We had about 3 or 4 on there, ma'am, but now we do not right now. But they are probably within 2 or 3 beds there, and we still are receiving people.
very good.
They're
Thank you
applying.
so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Droege.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your service. You talked in percentages of fill of beds. I just was curious what the number of people are.
Yes, sir. If I may, I just want to refer to the notes so I don't. I think we were at 111 right now that are occupying down at the Veterans Home, and out at the Soldiers Home we have 91. So their bed counts for long-term care is 97, I think, at the total bed count, 97 for long-term care at the KVH, and at the KSH it's slightly smaller than that. Let me see if I have that here. His bed count's 56. That's strictly the long-term care piece, though. And in those, the composition of that is probably roughly a half to 2/3 are long-term care folks, and the third is your short-term memory, the memory loss wing, if you will. We have facilities that take care of folks that way there. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Committee, other questions? I have a couple if you would entertain them.
Yes, sir.
Last year, when we made our recommendations, we added some things that the agency had asked for were not allowed by the governor. I think, was it a scattering wall or something like that? Has that been completed?
No, sir, it is not yet, but it is in the process of being
Process?
constructed. Yes,
Is
sir,
there
we are
anything
working on
else that I'm thinking of that we maybe, I think our own Representative Clifford added a couple recommendations like that, but that was certainly one of them, wasn't it?
I think that was the one, sir, that was added. It is not, we have not started the construction. We are still in the bidding process right now with that, and we continue to struggle trying to get construction folks out there. It's a relatively small project, I think, in their realm, and the companies that we have bidding on these are largely coming from the Wichita area.
All right.
It's a scattering garden, and then we have a columbarium wall as well that is being, but that is federally funded, and that's being built out there.
Is the scattering wall the one where they put the ashes?
It is, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and that had not been allowed in the governor's budget, and we made the recommendation
Right,
to
we
do
did.
that. So I just wanted to follow up on that.
Thank you.
Then with regard to hiring and your vacancies, we've heard from some of the other agencies that they're being very aggressive with online things, Facebook, Indeed, things like that. I assume you all are doing the same.
Yes, sir. We employ a lot of the same vehicles, and we receive
Trade
support as
shows
well.
and all that.
I'm sorry, sir?
Trade shows.
Yes, sir.
Schools and so
They
forth.
go around all the various, yes, sir, the job fairs and what have you, and we have representation there from our HR teams. We also receive support from Deputy Secretary Bruner. I've worked with him, and he has helped to provide, to advertise, and to also seek folks that may be available. So that's been helpful as well.
Final vein of questioning, I guess. Regarding the contract staffing, that's from medical help, largely like nursing and things like that, is that right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
A lot of the other agencies were talking about this as well, and I know it's an issue in just about every segment. Do you know off the top of your head if the contract staffing agencies have liability insurance for their workers?
So I would hesitate to commit to that. I want to believe they do, but I am not 100% certain.
Just let me run into a scenario by you. You have a contract person in one of your homes. They administer the wrong prescription to the wrong party. It causes harm.
Yes, sir.
Who is liable for that?
I mean, I would assume, I I would need to get you an answer, sir, just to be sure. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, it's been bothering me, and I would really like to know that, and it may be something we need to put some tighten up some things, so.
Yes, sir.
All right. Committee, other questions? Seeing none? All right, is there anyone else who wishes to appear on the budget? And Molly, you handed out a supplement. Did you go over that at all, or do you wish to, or? Just kind of give us a little explainer on that.
Hi, Molly Pratt with Legislative Research. The other document I provided is the performance-based budget that was completed by the agency prior to the beginning of this legislative session. It essentially discusses output measures and outcome measures to try to see how well the different programs are doing. I thought it would be useful because it provides a bit of information on the number of hours logged for volunteers with the VCAP program, as well as the number of residents, or like that, yeah, the number of residents per day, I believe, with each home. Although, yes. Do you all have any questions on this?
Find out. Committee, do you have any questions on that? Okay, just wanted to have a little explanation. Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we'll close this hearing. Committee will have our recommendations for this budget on Monday, and then we'll hear another one. And if there's nothing else, we will adjourn.